Got a great program for you. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our October meeting of Wake Up Newport. Got a great program here today, but before we introduce our speaker, the few formalities we need to take care of. So first off, I'll introduce some of the dignitaries that are joining us this morning. We have with us today Councilman Jeff Herdman. I saw him in a blue check blazer here somewhere. There he is. Councilman, good morning. We have a couple of former mayor and council members that I served with on the city council. Ed Selich. Ed, back there. Yeah. You can applaud. That's fine. Yeah, it's appropriate. And Keith Curry, back there with him. As expected, we have our Public Works Director with us, Dave Webb. Dave. Got Pierce Swan here this morning with the Irvine Ranch Water District. If you live up in Newport Coast, he provides all your water up there, right? Here? Okay. And around the bay. As most of you probably realize, there's an election coming up in about 30 plus or minus days, 34 days. Okay, the candidate knows. Tim Stokes, candidate for City Council. So yeah, we definitely want you to get out and vote. We're going to be releasing our positions on all the ballot measures this week, so look for that as well. If you couldn't miss them this morning, we have I heard there was 66 on the list, members of the DECA Club from Newport Harbor High School this morning. It's our huge contingent here. And their director, Sheridan Hurst, is with us as well, back there. DECA is a business club, right? And you compete against other DECA groups, I think, and they study analysis. Okay, yeah, and I think you have your convention over here in Anaheim as well. Yeah.
Southern California and state conference. They're always looking for judges from the professional communities.
Right, they need judges. So if you want to be a judge for their conference, see Sheridan. She can help you out with that. We also have with us this morning the chair of our board and the general manager of the Balboa Bay Resort, Sam Elraba, in the back. Looking dapper as usual. The only 4-star resort on the harbor. Okay, so I think I got the dignitaries. There's a lot of people out here. I can't tell if I got everybody, but if you're a dignitary, please raise your hand. If not, we'll catch you later. I do want to introduce Dee Dee with the Credit Union of Southern California. Dee Dee, why don't you come up and tell us, she's our sponsor this year. Unfortunately, she has probably a little bad news to announce, but she has some good news too, I'm sure.
Good morning and welcome to all the new DECA. My name is Dee Dee. I am currently the branch manager of both the Costa Mesa and Newport branches of Credit Union of Southern California. Although we did close the branch of our credit union that was upstairs here in the library, we do have our new office in Costa Mesa, and we would be happy to see anybody who needs to open a checking account, a savings account. All you students, think about that. So the credit union is a full-service financial, and we are going to be starting an auto loan promotion on October 15th. If you're looking for a car loan, and now's the time to buy, come and see us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. So all of you students out there that, parents might buy you a car for Christmas or something, if they need a loan, send them over to Dee Dee. She'll help you out. We also have two sponsors with us this morning of the food. So one, I'll do the introduction for Jamie Mead. Jamie's a chef. She's back there in the green blazer. If you tried the quiche or the little yogurt cups, she prepared those today for us, and she's been great help to the chamber. She puts on our ambassador holiday dinner, and it's always well attended because the food's so delicious. And she's available for in-house catering or business catering, all kinds of catering, right? I get that right? Okay. So thank you, Jamie. Her company's name is Delightful Bites, and she has some brochures back there. Make sure she doesn't want to take it home with her, so make sure to get some on the way out. And then lastly, I'm going to invite up Christine Mulholland. I put her card here. She's with the Parrot. I should know because her company's the same name as mine, just about Paradigm. Oh, and Emerald. Okay. And she's going to. She provided the coffee, the gourmet coffee this morning. It's Italian, as I understand. She'll tell you more about that, as well as the silverware that we used this morning, which is kind of unique. So, Jamie, Sorry. Christine. Yeah.
Good morning. Okay, so the coffee, we're based on the East Coast. We're slowly making our way out here to the West Coast. It's called Segafredo. We like to say we're Starbucks and Pete's quality, but not at the price. So hope you're all enjoying it. But I work for a broker, so that's one of the lines, the coffee. And then my main passion is the Emerald line, which you're all drinking out of the cups and eating off the plates and the forks and spoons. It's all tree and plastic free, so it will biodegrade and compost in 90 days or less in a composting facility. And then, of course, if it does make its way to a landfill, it will break down naturally as well. It just takes a little more time. It's a great alternative, obviously, to the huge plastic problem that we have today, and also to not cutting down trees. So all of our plates, fiber products, bowls, the cups are made from bagasse, which is a stalk of sugarcane, which they actually traditionally burn. The farmers will just pile up and burn it because it's the cheapest, easiest way to get rid of it. And that creates obviously a huge air pollution problem as well. So it's just a win-win. We're taking this agricultural byproduct that has no use and making our paper products out of it. So, and we're not cutting down trees, so it's just a win-win all around. We like to get companies to go green with us, and we actually provide impact statements, environmental impact statements showing number of trees saved, water saved, landfill waste diverted, and plastic material saved. So it's really great. If any of you know big companies that are ready to make a switch over to our disposable line, give me a holler. I have cards in the back table and flyers that actually are on all of your seats, and I'd love to talk to you more about coffee or eco products. Have a great day.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, that's a big growing area now. Biodegradable plasticware and plates and things like that. We recently did an event up here called the Green Expo, which was actually plastic free. And so I had to find substitutes for those water bottles that we do have in the back here today, but and silverware and things like that. So it's definitely a growing trend. I know a lot of cities are banning plastic straws and things like that. So she'd definitely be one to talk to if you want to get on the bandwagon there. So that's our hosts, our sponsors for today, and so I want to get right into our program. And I'm going to read the bio of our speaker today. So our speaker came, I thought she was coming from Sacramento, but I guess she came up from San Diego because she technically lives down there, but still very far, and we're very happy to have her. It's Director of Caltrans, Laurie Berman. And I was telling a couple of the other students here earlier that normally I probably would have gone to the gentleman to our right to speak this morning because he's the director or the head of Caltrans in this district here. So he covers a wide swath. But, you know, I figured, well, why not see if we can get the top dog, and made a phone call and a couple emails, and sure enough, she's here today. And so it's a good lesson for the students here. If you don't ask, you don't get. So think about that. Anyway, Laurie Berman was appointed by Governor Edmund G. Brown Jr., who's soon to be the outgoing governor, to be the director of the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, beginning in March 2018. So she's fairly new in the job. She leads more than an $8 billion organization and nearly 20,000 employees who build, maintain, and operate the 50,000 miles of California's transportation system. Director Berman has been actively engaged in the implementation of SB 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act, and will seamlessly continue Caltrans' momentum to deliver SB 1 projects and rebuild California. Since she started at Caltrans in 1983, so you've been around the block, so to speak, once or twice, Director Berman has held several positions, including Acting Deputy Director, Chief Deputy Director, San Diego and Imperial County District Director, Chief Deputy District Director of Project Delivery, State Route 125 South Toll Road Corridor Project Manager, Design Manager, and Senior Transportation Engineer. Director Berman has managed a record level of investment in Imperial County infrastructure from 2009 to 2017 as a District 11 Director on the south end of the state. She oversaw the Interstate 5 North Coast Corridor project groundbreaking, the successful delivery of State Route 125, and the public-private partnership, which we all strive for, and improve mobility efforts along the California-Mexico border. Director Berman has long been an integral part of a statewide leadership team working to ensure Caltrans will effectively meet growing transportation needs. In 2012, Berman served on special assignment for an intensive department program review. She shares the vision for a future state transportation system infused with innovation and new technologies that will provide truly multimodal options to efficiently move people and goods across California. Director Berman is a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers and the Women's Transportation Seminar, which honored her as the San Diego chapter's Woman of the Year in 2011. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering in 1983 at Michigan State University. I give you Director Laurie Berman.
I feel like I don't have much left to say now. No, thank you for that. So I really appreciate being invited to speak here today, and I live in San Diego and I work in Sacramento, but it's a big state. I work all over the state, and this week is my Southern California week, so I'm really happy to be here in Newport Beach. What I want to talk to you about today is some of the work we're doing at Caltrans, and one of my goals is to get out and talk more to people who are using our facilities and tell them what we're doing at Caltrans. We also have our district director here, Jerry DeSantos, who is local, and so the hard questions will go his way when I'm done here. So I want to talk about what we're doing around the state, what some of my priorities are. I'll touch a little bit on some of the work we're doing here in Orange County. And then I want to spend a little bit of time talking about where the new gas tax money from SB 1, Senate Bill 1, is going and what we're doing with that. But first I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So as was mentioned, I'm a civil engineer by training. I graduated from Michigan State and I came to California to work for Caltrans. Thought that would last a couple years, but it's been 35 years and I've never had a dull day. I was fortunate enough to move around the state and work in different parts of the department. We've got about 20,000 employees. So I spent some time on the Central Coast and the Central Valley. I was a bridge inspector working in, building bridges, literally and figuratively. And thanks, that was a joke. And then I moved to Sacramento for about 6 years to work in our corporate headquarters and also to design bridges. And then 24 years ago, I had an opportunity to move to San Diego. And I've been there ever since. And so I worked on several projects there. The most noteworthy was a public-private partnership project, which was where we combined, and it was the first one in the nation, actually. It was a big experiment in getting the public and private sector together. It's more, at the time, it was more frequently done in Europe. And we built the 125 South Toll Road. And that project, I thought, would take my entire career because I learned a lot about the environmental process that we have to go through and a lot of the other processes. But ultimately, it's done, it's operating, it's beautiful. If you ever go down to San Diego, take a ride. It's got a great bridge. So I was the district director in Caltrans District 11. Orange County is District 12. The state is divided into 12 districts. So District 11 is San Diego and Imperial counties. I had also the entire California-Mexico border region, which presented me with some unique opportunities and challenges. It was a very enjoyable part of my job. So I was the district director for 8 years. Just a year ago, the chief deputy director in Sacramento left, and the director asked me to come up for just a few months and take on that role. And I did. I said, sure, I'd like to try something different. And then a few months later, the director told me he was moving on and I should apply for his job. And I did, and then in March, the governor appointed me as director of the department, and I was confirmed by the Senate in July. So it's been quite a ride this last year. I want to start by telling you about some of the stuff that I did in San Diego, and that will inform you of what I want to do going forward in the direction the department is going in. So one of the projects I'm most proud of is what we call the I-5 San Diego North Coast Corridor on the north coast of San Diego County. How many of you drive down to San Diego every now and then? How many of you use the 5? How many of you hate it? Okay, so this project, and I-5 is a hard-working corridor. I know it is through Orange County as well. In San Diego, the I-5 connects locals and visitors to 6 lagoons, to world-renowned beaches, to employment centers, including the high-tech and highly congested area known as the Golden Triangle. It connects to UC San Diego and Camp Pendleton, which is one of the largest military bases in the nation, and it also connects several communities. And I always feel that this corridor is emblematic of a lot of our system. It was built in the late 1960s, and we really haven't made any appropriate investments since then. However, as the population has grown on the 5, the congestion on I-5 is predictable only in that the travel times are always very unpredictable. So this project started as an idea to add some carpool lanes and has become a project that improves, it's a multimodal project, it improves bicycle and pedestrian access from East County to the coastline, because when we built I-5 in the 60s, we weren't thinking about how are people getting to the coastline, but now we're giving that a lot of thought. We're double tracking several segments of rail, we're adding carpool lanes, plus we were able to improve the overall health of the lagoons. So one of the big challenges that seemed insurmountable initially was that we had to get a coastal permit for this 27-mile-long project. And so one of my goals that I want to work, we had a lot of success with in San Diego, and which I want to take statewide, is to improve our partnerships. And one way to improve our partnerships is to understand the other agencies, or locally, what do people need, and find those intersections. So in working with Coastal, we realized that unlike some of the other projects and other resource agencies we work with, we couldn't just mitigate, find a way to mitigate and move on. We had to actually leave the coastline in better condition than we found it. So in the 60s, when we built those bridges, we built them as narrowly, as short as we could, which impacted the health of the lagoons. So we did a study. We had to replace the bridges anyway. We've lengthened them, and now the tidal flushing will be improved, and we are actually leaving the lagoons in a better condition than we found them. And I got to say, in 35 years with Caltrans, I have not built a project that is actually leaving the environment in a better condition we found it in, and has all this great multimodal efficiencies. So this was, I think, this project demonstrates how multiple benefits can be achieved when you take a holistic approach to managing a transportation corridor, which includes all modes of travel. So that's one of the things we did in San Diego, and since you're here in Orange County, you'll probably get to reap the benefits. We broke ground about a year ago. If you've driven down there lately, there's a lot of work going on. Okay, let's see if this works. Yes. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about California's transportation system. Reliable transportation is critical to get Californians to work, to move goods and services to market, and support our $2.2 trillion economy. So California's economy is the 5th largest economy in the world. Think about that. And we can't continue to be competitive if we don't have a transportation system that works. But did you know that our transportation system was built in the 50s and 60s when California's population was only about 10 million? Today our population is almost 40 million, and it's projected that by 2050 it will be 50 million. And all those people are expecting to move around their communities, around their state in an efficient manner. So they are relying on us at Caltrans to maintain an aging system so they can just go about their business, take their kids to school, drive to work, get goods to market. In 2015, nearly $2 trillion worth of goods traveled on California's roads. What's impressive is that our more than half-a-century-old system supports 40% of our nation's imports, and that number also will go up. By 2045, the worth of goods on California's roads is expected to double to $4 trillion. Prior to the passage of Senate Bill 1, California state highways and local roads were facing an estimated $137 billion deferred maintenance backlog over the next 10 years, and that's statewide. Deferred maintenance can lead to even more costly repairs down the road. You all know about deferred maintenance. If you own a home or a car, you know you need to maintain it. Sometimes the timing doesn't work, or it doesn't seem like the right time to make the financial investment, and then it becomes more costly, and it becomes a bigger project once you finally do it. And let's face it, maintenance is just not that exciting to most people. Think about the maintenance you do on your home. It's not that exciting, but it's necessary, and we have not properly invested in California. So what's happening with our transportation system, you can see here. What I feel is, and I was a district director for 8 years, and I always felt that the frustration of not having the funding to adequately have a proactive maintenance program. I knew where we needed to fix things. We fixed a lot of things with Band-Aids because of the funding constraints. That's what I refer to it as the Band-Aid approach. So we did what we could to keep the system working, but ultimately, you got to do the big fixes. So, so then we have the new transportation bill, and that's expected to generate $54 billion over the next decade, and that's basically split between the state and local agencies. It essentially doubles the transportation dollars for local communities, doubles the transportation dollars, and doubles the maintenance dollars for the state highway system. All this is providing Caltrans and local communities an opportunity to catch up on years of unfunded maintenance needs that have plagued our roadways. Our focus is on fix-it-first projects, and we are focusing on 4 asset categories: pavement, bridges, culverts, and traffic sensors like ramp meters, the overhead message boards. And then SB1 funding is further split, with 65% of the dollars are going towards maintenance and 35% for congestion relief. And it should be noted that SB1 is a transportation bill. It's not a freeway bill. We're focusing on moving people and not just cars. And that's why it also includes funding for transit and rail. Some of the other programs within the congestion portion, the congestion relief funding, is the Congested Corridors Program, a program for more, and these are competitive programs, a program for enhanced freight, and a program for active transportation. That's bicycles, sidewalks, things like that. Thanks to the passage of Senate Bill 1, Caltrans was able to start numerous projects originally planned for years later and complete the work earlier than anticipated. So we already, the money started coming in, started being collected in November of last year. We started and completed 44 major maintenance projects around the state. We have awarded or begun construction on about 100 projects around the state. And then we started the design and environmental process on about 300 more projects. And that number continues to grow. It's important to note that SB1 funds are protected for transportation use only, and the legislation includes historic accountability and transparency measures. Like I said, I've been with the department for 35 years, and this is moving us into operating in a different way, and I'll talk more about that. But in June, the California voters also approved Prop 69, which amended the state constitution to ensure that the new funding streams created by SB1 remain dedicated to transportation spending only. SB1 requires Caltrans to show significant improvements to the condition of the state highway system over the next decade with that maintenance money. So we're not just getting the money and be told, go do what you do. These are the commitments we've made: 17,000 miles of pavement, 55,000 culverts, etc. In order to meet those targets, we've committed to this, and then there's accountability checks along the way. So let me talk about that for a minute. Last October, Governor Brown appointed an Inspector General, Irena Ortega, to assure that funds are spent appropriately. We've never had an Inspector General at Caltrans. Personally, I welcome it. I was taught when I was working on the public-private partnership project that if you're developing a new program and you're not sure, you want to be sure that you're setting things up properly and bring in audits. So the Inspector General is like a super auditor, and it's been very helpful to have her to have somebody from the outside look at what we're doing. Are we adequately capturing everything? I don't want to get 5 years down the road and realize, oh, that's not working out quite the way we said it would. So this is a really positive thing for the department. I know sometimes people don't believe that, but this is going to be very positive for the department. And then the California Transportation Commission, or the CTC, is tasked with holding both Caltrans and the cities and counties receiving the road repair and maintenance funding accountable through regular reporting. So we are all committing to what we're going to get done, and then we have to go back and report on how that's coming along. If there are measures. If the funds are not appropriately spent, the CTC can withhold project allocations. And if you tune into a CTC meeting, you'll hear some of that discussion as well. SB1 also required Caltrans to put efficiency measures into place to generate at least $100 million annually in savings to reinvest in maintenance and rehab of the state highway system. So that seemed really hard. $100 million, not just this year, but every year. It turns out I'm very confident that we will achieve those savings. We are submitting our report to the Transportation Commission later this month, and it will then be submitted to the legislature. And we have over $100 million. And now we've already started looking at what our efficiencies are for next year. And the reason that I became more confident that we'll have over $100 million every year is because we at Caltrans, we're a very large organization, a lot of engineers. We do what we do. We never talk about it. So we've been implementing efficiency measures. We've never formalized it in any way. This forces us to formalize it and put it out there to the legislature and the Transportation Commission and the general public. A couple of the things that we've been doing prior to this bill, we were doing this, was we have value analysis where we look at our projects and look at how can we cheapen it up, can we make things more efficient in the way we're delivering it. We have a Lean Six Sigma process where we look at all of our processes and figure out redundant steps. And so all of those things were already in place, and that's helping us between that and the review of the Inspector General to make sure that our efficiencies report is accurate and well done. But what it's really doing is it's changing how we do business at Caltrans, and I find that very exciting. SB1 is an opportunity to tackle the ambitious performance targets the department has set for itself, and for Caltrans to keep pushing ahead to find more efficiencies and new innovations. So there's a couple reports, because I'm sure everybody wants to read reports when they leave here, but there's a couple reports that we put out, and I think we may have some copies of the mile marker. SB1, but let me talk first about our move to asset management. So this Transportation Asset Management Plan was put out earlier this year. SB1 is tied closely to our move to asset management, and that's an innovative framework for how we evaluate projects to determine which ones provide the best investment. To ensure and again, we're taking a holistic approach that we haven't necessarily taken in the past so that we get out there once and fix everything in the corridor. To ensure our transportation investment decisions are based on quality information and well-defined objectives, we use the asset management plan, and this maps out how Caltrans can achieve our goals as stated in SB1. In the asset management plan, we have taken a comprehensive look at managing the state's current assets, the roads and bridges that you rely on to get to work, and we are setting and reporting clear performance targets so you know how we're doing. If you want to check to see if we are meeting our goals, you can also look at the mile marker. This is a performance report that we put out every quarter, and it's intended to report the good and the bad, where we're meeting our goals, where we're not meeting our goals, and the intent is to be very transparent about that. And it's good for us to see where we're not meeting our goals so we know where we need to hit a little harder, and also to take credit for where we are meeting our goals. Okay, so the asset management plan also gives our local district offices the targets needed to fill the gaps between the current condition of the roads and bridges and the performance measures set out for pavement, drainage, bridges, and traffic management systems. Unlike what we've previously done, where a lot of the financial decisions are made in headquarters in terms of the maintenance money, the funding is given to each local district so that they can decide how to be most efficient. So we determined in headquarters how much each district needed to bring their system up to the standards that we committed to, and then each district has that funding. If they find ways to be more efficient, they can take the savings and put that into other projects and accelerate other projects. So it incentivizes efficiency and savings. So when I say that it's changing the way Caltrans does business, we're taking a more holistic approach, similar to what I mentioned at the beginning on I-5. We're looking at the system instead of different elements. And the goal is we get out there once, we inconvenience you once, and we also are looking at ways to make those permanent fixes instead of the Band-Aid approach that we've had to use for so long. So now let's talk for a minute about, does everybody know about the 405 improvement project? Okay, well, it's a good thing I brought it up. So you may already see some of the progress of our partnership with the Orange County Transportation Authority and the federal government to build the largest freeway construction project in the history of Orange County. Ringing any bells? You guys got to get out more. In August, we started making way for this $2 billion. You're going to get to see it at some point because we just started We started making way for this $2 billion project to add a general purpose lane and an express lane in each direction of the 16-mile stretch of I-5 between 73 in Costa Mesa and 605 in Long Beach. And this project also will improve freeway entrances, exits, and the bridges. We are using design, build, construction. Typically on Caltrans projects, we do design, bid, build. We design it, we put it out for bid, contractor builds it. With design, build, contractor brings in a team of it's a joint venture of a team of designers and the contractor. And as the plans are being developed, the contractor can get started. So there's a lot of time saving, and it allows for more innovation, and that's what's being done on 405. And so you'll see more of that. When the project is complete, you'll want to pay attention to this. The drive time in the regular use lanes is expected to be cut in half, from 1 hour to 30 minutes. The project is expected to be completed in 2023, so it's going to take some time, but it'll be really good when it opens. Let's see. What else do I want to tell you? So I'm going to skip through that. Here's some projects that have been completed. Some of these you may be familiar with. I'm going to mention this one because where's my notes? Because I mentioned that one of the asset classes we had was traffic management systems, or TMS elements, and this is going to be right here in Newport Beach. So we've started to study and do the design for a project to synchronize and upgrade the traffic signals on PCH and Dana Point, and that's not going to you're not going to see that until 2022 because the design takes some time, but this is a good example of where we can address the ITS elements, in this case traffic signals, to provide some congestion relief. Now I want to talk for a minute about some of the other challenges we have related to climate change and extreme weather events. So I'm going to start with most recent. 2017's historic winter rains, does everybody remember what it was like last winter? Caused more than $1 billion in damage to our state's infrastructure, and at one point we had 44 highways closed around the state, including Pacific Coast Highway, where 2 slides isolated the Big Sur area from the rest of the state for over a year. That means people couldn't get to any place except by walking there. So if you go through the Big Sur area, people really suffered. We reopened Highway 1 south of Big Sur this past July after reconstructing the highway over 15 new acres of coastline created by the Mud Creek Slide in May of 2017. Here in Orange County, I know the 74 was among those closed due to severe storms until we could get in there and fix the culvert. We also have, in January, rain brought flash flooding, mudslides, and rock slides, which destroyed homes and shut down roads in Montecito, just south of Santa Barbara. Do you guys remember when 101 was closed at the beginning of the year? So that's a pretty significant route to have to close. Day and night, Caltrans and our contractors removed more than 100,000 cubic yards of mud, vegetation, and rock from 101 before reopening it 2 weeks later. We still actually have 4 bridges in Montecito on one of the smaller state routes that still need to be opened. One of the big challenges we had with getting in there, aside from, and I went up there, earlier this year, and saw the devastation of where the water just came right down to the freeway. And so you had homes that were destroyed, but the home next to it was fine. But one of the problems we had was it didn't just destroy, it destroyed everything in its path, including gas and electric lines. So we had to wait for the utility companies to do the delicate work of removing the gas and electric lines before we could get our folks in there to start clearing it up. I happened to be up there, about a week after it reopened, and people north of Santa Barbara talked about how isolated they felt because 101 was closed. So when you think about, we kind of take our transportation system for granted, but when you don't have it, it's a huge impact. So then we also have the Pfeiffer Canyon Bridge. They told me I can show you a movie here. I don't see how that's going to work. Hover over. Anyway, well, I'll just talk about it. Sorry. So Pfeiffer Canyon Bridge, also in Big Sur. Last year, a landslide caused major damage to the Pfeiffer Canyon Bridge on Highway 1. You might recall that. That was in mid-February. The 50-year-old bridge was determined to be beyond repair. There was so much rain that the foundation started to move. Jerry can probably describe it better. But the foundation, and people, anyway, it was determined to be unsafe, and when a facility is unsafe, we close it. So we closed it. We thought it would take a lot longer than it did take to replace, and a new bridge was built and opened to the public in 8 months after the original concrete structure was condemned. Normally, going through design, environmental clearance, everything else, that would have taken 8 years. So that was a big project for us. We were very busy on the Central Coast. Right now, Caltrans is doing a lot of hiring. A lot of our employees are retiring, and so we are hiring up at all levels. If you know somebody that's looking for a job, Caltrans is a pretty good place to work. I'm looking at all of you folks from the business school. We are also using a diverse group of contractors. We're hiring more consultants, and we also have a very robust small business program. If you know anybody that wants to do work for us and has a small business, we have a strong small business program and disadvantaged business program that I would encourage you to check out. Senate Bill 1 is really an economic driver. These projects are not just fixing our transportation system, they're also creating jobs and showing a strong investment in our communities. So you can find the latest information on how states, cities, and counties are using the funding to make needed improvements to the highways and local roads at rebuildingca.ca.gov. I want to end on, let's see, yes. I want to talk to you a little bit. I've talked to you a lot about the work that we're doing on the system, us, our local partners. I've talked to you about the money that's being spent and what it's going to do to fix our system. Here's what I haven't talked to you about, and that's I've got a lot of people out every day and almost every night, and they're working on the road. They're working right next to traffic. And you know what? When people don't pay attention when they're driving through our work zones, accidents happen, sometimes fatal accidents. And I'm really glad to see so many newer drivers here because it's really important. Mistakes have devastating consequences. So what I always ask people is, when you're driving through our work zone, put away your distractions, slow down, pay attention. Let's make sure you get home safely. Let's make sure my employees get home safely. Thank you.
Don't leave, Laurie. I think there's probably one or two questions out here in the audience. We have a little bit more time. So questions? Sheldon.
Yeah. Is there going to be I've been reading that there's going to be a tax increase in next July and then in 2020 going forward. Is it going to be inflation adjusted?
So yeah, SB1 does have an inflation adjustment. Right now it's 12 cents a gallon. The previous gas tax is a per gallon tax, just as this is, and had no inflation adjustment. This will have an inflation adjustment. And also in July, we're going to start charging $100 in your registration if you drive an electric vehicle, because electric vehicles obviously aren't paying anything right now.
Okay, other questions? Stan.
Yeah, doesn't the gas tax go into the general fund?
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't that's not what I heard.
No, the gas tax does not go into the general fund. That's a good question. The gas tax has, because of Prop 69, is lockboxed and can only be used for transportation.
Question over there?
I was curious how your work involves anything with potential rail use, high-speed rail, things like that for the future.
Sure. So we have a state rail plan that includes Amtrak and includes, and there's, so that we are sure that there's connections to high-speed rail. Caltrans is not involved in high-speed rail. But we assure that with our statewide rail plan that there's a connection there. Yes.
With this project on 405, will it close junction 73 going up to 405?
Did you guys hear that? I'm asking, so with the 405, you're asking if it'll close the junction at 73? I think it just adds a few lanes, but I'm going to let Jerry explain that.
No, we're not closing any kind of connections. I mean, there may be temporary while we're connecting during construction, at night or whatever, but no, all those connections will still be there.
Pierre.
You're talking about the ramp meters? or just the traffic signal synchronization?
Well, you control the light meters going onto
Yeah.
the freeways, but you also control the intersection and the right-of-way as it crosses the
Correct.
road. So you've got a double whammy on people. And that really, since there's a north, south, east, west grid in Orange County, that really hampers the
Sure.
development of a traffic management plan locally. Can we get better coordination on that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
No, absolutely, Pierce. What's interesting is we're really, I always tell people we've changed our cell phones from dumb phones to smartphones. And we really need to do that with our roads, right, to get smart roads. And so one of the things we're working is with the cities. And so right now in Orange County, we have what's called the triangle, the 5, the 57, 91. And we're using all those cities in that area to work with us to coordinate. So if there is an event on the freeway, I know what you're talking about, but even just if there's an event on the freeway, we're able to move traffic around, coordinate that, to be able to move people. And so we are working with our cities to coordinate things like that. We're still piloting it to make sure we're all, working together.
Okay, Tim?
With the new technology called driverless car, how does that change the Caltrans playbook?
So we're studying that, and we have actually a proving ground for autonomous vehicles in San Diego. We partnered with San Diego Association of Governments and the city of Chula Vista to allow the private sector to come in and do some experiments in a more closed course because it's on the toll road. We're looking at that, and we're looking at what does it mean for us. I think we're going to get a lot of benefit from vehicle to infrastructure communication. So what we're doing is, and one of the challenges we have is, we're looking to the future, but we got to stay in today as well and manage today's system. So, and I forgot to mention it, but we're doing some significant restriping projects all over the state with wider stripes, with greater visibility. They last a lot longer. And it's going to help drivers today because at night and during rain, you can see the lane lines better. But driverless cars in the future will be able to see that better as well. That's one of the things. We have a research group in Sacramento that also is working on some different projects. And so we can stay connected nationally. DMV is actually setting the regulations. We're part of the implementation after DMV sets the regulations. So we continue to stay engaged in that conversation and look at how it's going to impact us. Certainly looking at making, and it's not autonomous, but making electric vehicles easier to use. So that's kind of where we're at.
Sheridan?
I read something recently that caught surface temperature, and I wondered if that's part of the future vision.
That's a great question. You're asking about if road materials that will be more sustainable and absorb the heat, and we are looking into that. That's one of the concerns we have with climate change is the effect of heat. When I was district director, my district included Imperial County, which gets very hot in the summer. It's hard to do work. You've got to do work starting very early in the morning. And it's impacting our infrastructure, and it impacts our employees' ability to be out there on a hot day and get work done. So we are working with universities to look at some different materials to build our system with, and then we're also looking at heat islands as well. Good question.
Whatever you do, don't use that cane sugar. It only lasts about 90 days. Dissolves. Back there?
This is a very specific question. It may be the drive, doesn't matter what time of the day. It is backed up.
This is a question for Jerry.
So I think you're referring, there is a lane drop. And so obviously when we lose a lane, we lose capacity. There is a project that we're working on to continue that lane, to help that. Yes.
Okay. Good answer, Jerry.
Any other questions? Stan, you have to wait. All right, one more good one, Stan.
Okay, are you going to double deck the freeways to make for more traffic?
Look you know what? We cannot build our way out of congestion. So we can keep adding more lanes, but that doesn't solve the problem. So no, in general, we don't have plans to double deck the freeways.
Anybody else besides Pierre? Okay, Pierre.
What about an education program that encourages people who are driving slower but insisting on driving in their left lane? The studies show that has caused more accidents and it impedes the flow of traffic and slows it all So you have less carrying capacity, plus you have a whole lot of feeling.
I think a horn, no. I get that, so the question is about an education campaign to remind people that the left lane is for faster vehicles and the right lane is for slower vehicles. I get that question a lot. We actually try to minimize the number of signs we have because after a while, people don't actually look at them. There are other things we're doing, though, that I'll tell you about. We're looking at managing corridors in a way that, and there's a project up, there's actually a project in San Diego, but one in the Bay Area as well. Sometimes you have to slow down to go fast, and so we are putting speed limits on the lanes, over the lanes, to tell you, like, if you go 50 in this lane, if everybody goes 50, you'll get there faster than everybody trying to go back and forth. So we're looking at different ways, and this goes back to your question as well about getting more out of the system. We're trying to find ways to get more out of the system we have instead of continuing to expand it. I know what you're talking about. People are always asking, why do people drive so slow in the fast lane? I don't know. People are people.
All right, well, I'm going to reserve, well, okay, one last question back there. Oh, then I got to go to the councilman. Quickly.
The news today is, Mayor Garcetti is quoted as saying, if the gas tax is repealed, I believe it'll delay the light rail into LAX by 5 years. Any comment?
No, because that's a City of LA project, so no, I don't.
Okay, and last question to Councilman Herdman.
Can you comment on the stretch of the 5 between Buena Park going north to Downey? As far as the completion timeline on that project, that's a huge project.
Okay. I think you're referring to LA County?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't,
That's.
okay, I don't have that now, but I think if you look, I hate to tell people, look on our website, because I know that those of you here from the business class will tell me you don't do that. Am I right? I'm right. Okay, but you can look at our website, or else talk to me after, and I'll get somebody who can get you that information.
Okay, great. I'm going to reserve the last question for myself and maybe a suggestion. So how is Caltrans taking into account, and I know we talked about Tim's question there, disruptive technology, so, I mean, obviously driverless cars, but things like Uber and Lyft where, sharing cars, I mean, how does that factor into your planning, 5, 10, 15 years out?
Sure, so that's a great question. And we are engaged nationally and locally in those discussions because the disruptive technologies of Uber and Lyft and the scooters, that impacts the cities as much as it does the state. A lot of it is engaging in conversations, as I said, locally and nationally. We're engaged with Intelligent Transportation Society of America, where we're trying to come to some conclusion about some of these. These are all things that 5 years ago I don't think anybody was thinking about, certainly not 10 years ago. A lot of people view this as a management problem, not a mobility problem. We certainly want to encourage new ways of mobility, and it's a kind of a brave new world. I've been in this business for 35 years, and the level of innovation in the last couple of years has just been phenomenal, but it leaves all of us with more challenges, but I think ultimately it's going to improve our ability to get around, and so we'll continue to figure out how to make it work for all of us.
Very good. Well, that's all the questions we have, so how about a big round of applause for our speaker, Laurie? Thank you. So while Laurie's grabbing her seat, I just have a few quick closing remarks on some of our upcoming events. So let me get my schedule here. Who likes to build sandcastles? Come on. This Sunday is our Corona del Mar Sandcastle Building Contest. It's a 57th annual Sandcastle Building Contest. It's from 10 to 2, so if you want to put a team together, you can have up to 8 people on a team. It's $30 to enter. You get 8 T-shirts, so it's worth it just for the T-shirts alone. Maybe the DECA Club wants to put together a team. Sheridan, And actually, I'll even mention that Saturday we're building our sponsored sandcastle. We could probably use a few extra hands for that. I think there might be some community service hours in it for those of you who need it. So, I mean, community service hours for playing in the sand. It sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So if you're interested in that, please see me afterwards, or Sheridan has my contact information. You can get a hold of me. We're looking for the hours between 12 and 5 mostly on Saturday. And we'll comp your parking so you don't have to worry about paying down there. Next Tuesday, October 9th, our Young Professionals group, Navigate, is having a meeting at Rock Stars of Art Gallery in Corona del Mar from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a great art gallery. If you haven't been there before, it's not like those kind of stodgy art galleries where they got a bunch of pictures of the Back Bay or water or the ocean or something. It's pretty cool art. So please join us for that. Again, 6 to 8 p.m. in Corona del Mar. Our next women's group meeting, Inspire, is going to be October 11th at the Pacific Club. Our speaker is, I have it right here, Michelle Wolfstieg, and she's going to talk about finding and living your deeper purpose. So for you women out there, and some men who, like Stan, who likes to join us, if you want to find your deeper purpose, please join us. And that's from 12 to 1:30 at the Pacific Club. Our next thing coming up is our economic forecast. It's our big event of the year. It's going to be at the Balboa Bay Resort at Sam's Hotel, and we're going to have the forecast this year. We've switched horses a little bit, and we're going with USC. So we're going to have one of the professors from USC give the economic forecast this year. We're also going to have a state and local forecast. And then as our topical talk or subject, we're going to be looking at the rent control proposition that's on the ballot this year. We're going to have a pro and con kind of an argument, you know, best of times, worst of times kind of thing. That's at the Balboa Bay Resort, October 12th from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our next business luncheon at Fleming's, great place to eat lunch. Our speaker is Sanjay Dalal. He's going to talk about the apps that you need to have on your phone. So all the students here, they know what apps they need to have, but for us older folks, 40 and over, you know, we need to figure it out, and Sanjay's the guy to tell us how to do that. So you can come to Fleming's. I think that's about it. Oh, Government Affairs Committee meeting. At our next Government Affairs Committee meeting, this is only open to chamber members, but last month we had Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. This month we're going to have his opponent in that congressional race, Harley Ruda, come and speak. So if you're interested in seeing what the other side has to say, then please join us for that. That's October 18th. Meets at the chamber offices from 8 to 9:15. And our, I think that's Citizen of the Year, last but not least. November 2nd, Citizen of the Year, Debbie Snavely is our Citizen of the Year. That event also will be at the Balboa Bay Resort. And we're happy to honor her. She's done a lot for the chamber as well as the community. If you're interested in tickets to that event, you can, and any of these events, please go to our website, newportbeach.com. And Pam's waving at me. Who? Oh, Mixer. Oh, that's right. Our Sunset Mixer, what's the date on that? 25th is going to be on the Hornblower. So, Hornblower yacht. So please come and join us for a little cruise around the harbor. I think it's like $30 for chamber members. You get free drink, free food, and for non-chamber members, it's like $45. But it's always a fun time, and we'd love to see you there. If you have any questions about these, please come up and ask me afterwards. Thank you again to Laurie, our food sponsors. Have a great week.